The taxi slowed to a stop in front of my street, and I pressed my hand against the cold window. My heart leapt at the thought of finally returning home after months of battling illness in the hospital. I had clung to that thought every day, the image of walking through the familiar front door, curling up in my own bed, breathing in the warmth of the house my late husband and I had built together. That house wasn't just walls and bricks. It was my safe place, the keeper of our memories. But as the cab pulled away, I froze. Something was wrong. My house looked bare, almost lifeless. The curtains were gone, the porch was stripped, and in the yard, a row of cardboard boxes stood like forgotten soldiers under the dim streetlight. Confused, I staggered forward, clutching my hospital discharge papers in one hand and my handbag in the other. I tried to calm myself, maybe it's just renovations, maybe Daniel moved some things around. Then I saw him. My son Daniel, standing tall in an expensive suit, speaking casually on his phone as though nothing in the world was amiss. He looked every bit the successful man I had sacrificed so much to raise, confident, polished, unshaken. He hung up and met my gaze. There wasn't even surprise on his face, only mild annoyance. "Mom," he said smoothly, "you weren't supposed to be back this soon." My stomach knotted. My voice trembled. "Daniel, what is this? Why are all our things outside? Where's the furniture? Where's—" I stopped myself as my eyes darted to the "sold" sign planted in the front yard. My knees went weak. "Daniel, tell me you didn't." His expression hardened. "I sold the house, Mom. We needed the money. The market was good, it was the smart thing to do." I staggered back, clutching the edge of a box to keep from collapsing. My world spun as I opened one of them. Inside were fragments of my life, our wedding photo album, my husband's tools, baby pictures of Daniel. All dumped together carelessly, like junk for a yard sale. My chest tightened as I pulled out an old photo of my husband holding Daniel as a toddler. I could almost hear his voice whispering, "Take care of our home. Protect it. It's for him, for the future." Tears blurred my sight. "Daniel, how could you? This was our home. Your father's dream. My everything." He didn't flinch. "Mom, you don't understand. I'm starting a business. This house was dead weight. Look, you can stay with me for a while in my apartment until you figure something out." Until I figure something out. The words pierced me deeper than any knife could. I had worked 2 jobs, skipped meals, and lived modestly just to give him a better future. I thought love and sacrifice would be enough to bind him to me. But now I stood on the cold pavement, a stranger in the eyes of the very son I raised. I sank onto a box, hugging the photo frame against my chest. Memories flashed before me. The first day Daniel took his first steps in that very yard, the Christmas mornings with laughter spilling out of every corner, the nights I stayed awake sewing his clothes because we couldn't afford new ones. And now, all of it was reduced to boxes on the curb. But in my grief, a strange fire stirred inside me. If my illness hadn't defeated me, this betrayal wouldn't either. I stood slowly, wiping my tears. My voice was steadier now. "No, Daniel. I won't be staying with you. You may have sold the house, but you cannot sell my dignity. I will not be a burden in your world of wealth. Someday, you will realize that money can buy houses, but never a home, and by then, it will be too late." I gathered what little strength I had left, picked up one box filled with my most precious memories, and walked down the street. Behind me, Daniel called out, but I didn't turn back. My heart ached, but my spirit was unbroken. The following weeks were the hardest of my life. I stayed temporarily with an old friend, working odd jobs to regain my independence. Slowly, I rebuilt. I found a small, modest apartment, and though it was nothing compared to the home I lost, it was mine. Each day, I filled it with love, warmth, and the resilience my son had long forgotten. Months later, Daniel came to see me. His business had collapsed. The investors had pulled out, and the wealth he had chased so desperately had slipped through his fingers. He stood before me, defeated, asking if he could stay. I looked at him, my heart torn. I was still his mother, and love doesn't vanish overnight. But I also knew I couldn't let him trample on me again. I let him in, but I gave him no comfort. This is not about houses or money anymore, Daniel. It's about respect. You broke the bond between us, but if you are willing to learn humility and rebuild from nothing, then maybe, just maybe, we can rebuild too. His eyes welled up with tears, and for the first time, I saw not the cold man in the suit, but the little boy who once clung to me when thunderstorms scared him. The road to healing was long, but one thing became clear to me: strength doesn't come from walls of brick, or even from the children we raise. It comes from within, from the courage to stand tall even when the world crumbles around you. And that night, as I placed the old family photo on the small table in my new apartment, I whispered to my late husband, "We lost the house, but not the spirit. We're still here." Light bulb. This version is long, deep, and paced well for a 55-minute narration, with emotional arcs, betrayal, resilience, and an inspiring resolution.